Exoprimal, Capcom's upcoming entry in the elusive player versus environment genre. In this recap of the most recent closed beta, I'll be going over the pros and cons of the PvE portion, the PvP portion, what they're doing right with the game as a whole, and what I think is going to be necessary for this game not to become the next Crucible. At first glance, it would make sense that this could be the souped-up AI Hell World version of Dino Crisis, just with robot suits. And for about 70% of the game, that is true. Part of the development team had people with pedigree in development in Monster Hunter, and as we all know, Monster Hunter gets the formula right. However, in as much as I can describe why Monster Hunter is fun to play, I can say why the combat in Exoprimal is just a little bit lacking. The vast majority of the combat in the PvE is fighting these little raptor guys with extra attacks, flying guys, and really tanky fly guys. Very rarely you do get to fight an actual large dinosaur, but because you have a tank who can taunt it, they've got a shield that they can hold up so they can't die, a healer who, if you have one, will make sure they never die, and machine guns or dual blades that have a simple combat against obvious weak points. These large monster battles fall a little bit short of exciting, with only one notable exception. Present in the closed beta was a battle against the Neo T-Rex. Fighting him felt like they started piecing together all of the mechanics they developed internally in Capcom over the past 10 years, like some sort of insane fusion of the Dragon from Dragon's Dogma, as well as having entire arena-destroying attacks that would be right in place with Safi Jiva in Monster Hunter. Given that they gave us about 30 lives to clear this, and plenty of time to do it in, I do think it would be necessary to make it even more difficult than what they gave us, but it was a step in the right direction, and really just the one redeeming moment in the PvE that I played. I did enjoy what I saw in the raptor swarms. It's always a great moment to see hundreds of monsters getting dropped on screen, but with a group of 5 people that know what they're doing, I never at any point really felt like I was really in any major danger. I don't know whether the issue is they need to have more life, they need to deal more damage, they need to be more, faster. That's up for Capcom to decide, but as is, they were really just impressive, not particularly challenging. So what's the point of the PvE in the first place? Well, in the case of the Neo T-Rex, the entire mission was cooperative, with both teams of 5 working together to clear the mission. But in general, it's a race against the other team, and what the winner gets is just really an extra bit of time to start completing the PvP objective before the other team arrives. At best, this boils down to usually just 20 or 30 seconds to start pushing a payload, maybe to grab 10 to 20% of a mission objective when you have to collect data disks. If there was a competitive scene, I can imagine the PvE portions being almost entirely run with assault-type units to clear out things as quickly as possible before switching to a more balanced composition in PvP. That being said, any small head start is usually irrelevant. At the end of the match, whatever team is better at PvP will end up winning, as destroying the enemy team seems to start snowballing things way more than the extra 20 or 30 seconds you might get in terms of completing the objective. Truth be told, I actually enjoyed these PvP portions better than the PvE portions. I'm normally not a huge PvP guy. I mean, I pretty much just play Monster Hunter for every single game I play, but I have enjoyed PvP games in the past, and having different group compositions working together, having a tank feel like he's actually meaningful, having a healer feel like they're actually necessary, made it feel like the team composition aspect, even with the very limited loadouts that we had in the closed beta, already gave you a little bit to think about. Even the tank does not feel overly tanky, and likewise, your own life feels very fragile without the support of your team. All told, I think most people would have some amount of enjoyment in this mode when you actually end up competing against the other team. But if you're 100% against PvP all told, I have to tell you, about 80 to 90% of the matches that I had were the PvP portion. Only 2 out of all of them ended up being the exclusive PvE against the Neo T-Rex. Now, this is basically my greatest concern for the game. Exoprimal is planned as an online-only title that, according to IGN, is going to be released at full price, meaning anywhere between $60, maybe $70, maybe digital deluxe, maybe cosmetic add-ons, maybe a season pass. Who knows? But the last full PvE game that I can remember that came out on its own was Crucible, and that was fully free-to-play. Now, Crucible was not developed by Capcom. It was an internal Amazon studio, so who even knows if it's relevant? With that being said, it's not like there isn't also Fortnite out there still making huge rounds in the PvP space, along with other esoteric PvE modes, completely free to play. Even comparing this game on Capcom's own history with their own exclusive online titles, you have to think about what happened with Resident Evil Resistance, the pack-in asymmetrical multiplayer game that came with a Resident Evil 3 remake. Now, I loved Resistance. As you survivor, it felt powerful and rewarding when you worked together with your team. Playing as a mastermind felt really great, depending on your map positioning, your own play style, and the deck building that was in the game. But that being said, the game was nearly dead on release. The Steam version itself can only be accessed by digging through the Steam community forums and finding a hidden store page, which I don't think I've ever seen that before. Once in-game, on Steam or on console, queuing times are just confusingly long, with no indication on how close you were to actually getting in a match. Monetization models were added for XP boosts, which both unlock skills but also cosmetics. Matchmaking was a mystery. You didn't know if it was skill-based, not skill-based. If there was skill, you didn't know what your rank was, so you never knew if you were number 1 in the world or you were last. With fewer people buying 3-make due to the reviews of the game being short or bad, which I do agree it was shorter than the 2 remake, I don't really agree on it being bad, although it was maybe a little bit too easy. Resistance never got a standalone version, never got really advertised, and never got any tournament support. So, with no crossplay confirmation about the release of Exoprimal, I'm just concerned about whether or not there'll even be a player base to be there. $60, $70, maybe not crossplay, a game mode that requires you to be both invested in PvE and PvP. It remains to be seen. Monetization for video games is a wild thing, and even more so when you add PvP. The next huge release coming up is going to be Overwatch 2, which is planned to be released as a fully free-to-play game, and is allegedly going to have an in-depth PvE mode added on top. So in this market space, it's not even a matter of whether or not your game is at the right price point. It really matters is if it can even draw in the attention it needs. When you're competing against a full battlefield of relatively polished games that have large player bases with no cost to entry, that's going to be a problem. The full scope of Exoprimal isn't known yet. If there's a large single-player or cooperative campaign backed in, with lots of cosmetics and unlockables in there, I could pretty easily recommend it. $60, $70 for a Capcom game with a Capcom polish is usually worth it. The combat's fun. You can do kickflips with dinosaurs. Playing cooperative games with your friends is always enjoyable. However, as is, if the only mode is random matches against strangers, and the first 70% of these matches are just going to be running through the same set pieces over and over and over and over again, I'm going to be concerned. Currently, the game is not scheduled to be released until 2023. There's no firm release date yet. Crossplay is not confirmed yet. We haven't seen a price tag on it yet. There's still a lot of things in the air. I think there's a lot of promise based on this idea of a customizable team of people going against a group of monsters and then fighting another team. But I think right now, there needs to be a focus on the price, on the crossplay, and letting people play the type of game that they want to play, either player versus environment or player versus player, or both. Hopefully we'll see it in the next closed beta. Should be coming out relatively soon. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is Exoprimal on your list? Is there anything that you want me to check out or show off in the game that I maybe covered in what I played previously? in any upcoming playtests, or is there anything you want to see me test? Let me know. All right. Check me out, twitch.tv/SDShepherd if you're not already over there. Otherwise, hey, subscribe, like the video. It helps out the channel a ton. Doesn't cost you a thing. Until next time, good luck. Have a good hunt.